Alright guys, so I got my Dakota Lithium cranking battery slash deep cycle. So it's a dual purpose battery. It's pretty cool. 60 amp hours, and it cost me about 600 bucks, which is pretty expensive, but it's fully charged with the included charger. So we're gonna go ahead and test it and see how good it is. So first thing we're gonna do to test it is put it on the scale, because, you know, that's a cool thing to do. So this battery weighs 14 pounds dead nuts, which is extremely light, by the way, for a cranking battery. And it is 1,000 cranking amps compared to my Lexus battery, which was 630 cold cranking amps. This battery had an 84-month warranty. This battery has an 11-year warranty. So yes, it's twice as expensive as a Lexus battery, but it's much lighter and it'll last a lot longer. The Lexus battery is still getting charged up, so we're going to test the Dakota Lithium first. And to test it, we're going to hook it up to this Renogy 1000 watt inverter. This will be the power supply, and then we're going to put a couple loads on the inverter, a couple fans, because that's a pretty good consistent load. It's a fan motor. And we're going to see how long the inverter will power the fans, see if the battery discharges at the same rate between the lead acid and the Dakota lithium phosphate, just to have like a general idea of how much more capacity this battery has. Now, this Lexus battery is not a deep cycle, and we're going to run it and kill it, which is bad for it. Accessories in my truck, compressors, dash cameras, and if I leave the truck parked for more than a week, the parasitic draws will kill that Lexus battery, even though it's a fairly new, good battery. Hopefully, this Dakota Lithium has the reserve capacity to let me run all my little loads, like my dash cam and stuff, for a couple weeks and still start the truck. So that's the goal of upgrading this battery. Also to save some weight. My Lexus has gotten very heavy with the bumpers and skid plates and all that, so I'm always looking for ways to save weight. So the test commenced at exactly 8:30. I have 3 loads on the inverter. This big fan, really is air purifier, just a fan, and this little heater. And this little heater is drawing, I don't know, 3 times more current than the other 2 combined, because it's got a resistive heating element in it. And all together, we're drawing about 700 watts. So we're drawing a lot from this inverter. It's getting a little warm. The battery, totally fine. It can handle whatever discharge. You don't even feel any heat in the battery or the cables. So that should kill this battery, hopefully within 2 hours, because that's when I have to leave the house. I'll do the math real quick and see how long it should kill the battery pulling 700 watts. So it should kill the battery in a little over an hour. This says 12 volt 60 amps, but we know it's really 13 volt 60 amp hours. 700 watts, do the division. So about an hour, we should have that battery dead enough to throw the low voltage alarm on this inverter. And then that's when we're going to call the test complete, is when the inverter shuts off. And then we'll switch to the lead acid battery, which hopefully will be charged by then. It was surprisingly dead just sitting in the truck overnight. Okay, so just finished test 1 with the Dakota Lithium, so it's back on the charger. The results were about as expected. It ran for 68 minutes with the 2 fans and the space heater. And we know the amp hour rating for that battery, and it was accurate, so performed well as expected. Now this battery right here, we don't know what its amp hour rating is, right? This is just rated for its cranking amps, and it's a 12 volt battery. So, you know, we have some estimates we could look up, but we really don't know what to expect here. So it'll be interesting to see how long it runs, and then we'll back calculate its amp hour rating from how long it powers these loads. So, you know, the other one ran a little over an hour. I'm guessing this is going to run about half an hour. Very interesting. We're about 18 minutes into the test, and it already started beeping the low voltage alarm. It hasn't shut off yet, but that'll probably be coming soon. So not nearly the capacity with the Dakota Lithium had. And again, it's not a deep cycle battery, so not a huge surprise there. But wow, what a performance increase going to this battery as far as weight and reserve capacity. All right, so this fitment was not a direct swap. This battery is a little smaller than the one that came in my Lexus. So what I had to do, you can see how the tray is kind of hanging out over there. This battery is a good bit shorter and skinnier, but this bracket worked okay. So I just put some spacers on it here and here, because I ran out of thread to tighten these down more. I could eventually lop these off and tap it down farther, but realistically, am I ever going to do that? No. So it's in there very solid, and you don't even need to mount it as well because it's so much lighter. And then to hook up the leads, these are my two positives. I got rid of the post type style mounting, even though the battery came with adapters. I just didn't see the point in having another connection point. So I put the bolts straight through those big eyelets. I had to bend them a little bit, bend the tabs on them. Same with this one. You can see the bend right there. But it all fits in there pretty decent. And then I got my A or B wires on it. I'm of course going to put a zip tie on this to keep the hot side a little more protected, the positive side from arcing and stuff. But yeah, not 100% direct fit, but it is small, so I do have some more room in this battery bay area. Not that I really need it. There's plenty of clearance in here for the stock size battery, but man, the truck's probably sitting, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch higher now because of the lighter battery. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's in there well, and yeah, it's good to go. Hopefully I'll never have to use my jump box on this truck ever again, but we'll see. All right, guys, so what exactly happened? That's what Matt Watson on Carver would say anyway. Okay, so this top line is the Dakota Lithium. The second line is my stock Lexus battery. I just threw it into Excel to make it easy to calculate these numbers, even though very simple calculations here. The low voltage cutoff on my inverter is set at 10 volts. So that's the point. Once battery voltage gets to 10 volts, it cuts off power to the accessories, and that's when I call the test finished. I started with both these batteries fully charged. First thing to talk about is weight. So the Dakota Lithium weighs 14 pounds. The Lexus battery weighs 41 pounds. If you just divide those numbers, the Dakota Lithium is about a third of the weight. Or in other words, the Lexus battery is 3 times as heavy. So huge weight savings. That's pretty awesome there. As far as voltage goes, the Lithium has a little higher nominal voltage than the Lexus battery. No surprise there. And the Dakota Lithium performed as you would expect based on the manufacturer's specifications on the battery and the website. 13 volts, 60 amp hours. You multiply those numbers together, that's 780 watt hours. And I was pulling about 692 watts. And I knew that using the app on my Renogy inverter. I can see the current draw and the watt draw. And so that gives me an ideal time of 1 hour and 1.13 hours. This is all really simple math. I'll click on it so you can see the equations. Just multiplying those two numbers there. And then for this one, you're just dividing your battery's watt-hour capacity by watts, and then those units cancel and you get hours. So there we go. And when I did the actual test, I ended up getting 1.13 hours. So very close to what was expected. It ran for 68 minutes, which is pretty impressive, you know, for a cranking size battery pulling 780 watts. Now there also is a much bigger Dakota Lithium dual purpose battery. I didn't buy it because it was really expensive, and I already have some onboard lithium for deep cycle type stuff. But you could get even better than this if you really want to spend the money. All right, so the Lexus battery, 41 pounds, pretty heavy, 12.3 volts nominally, and these are the numbers I back calculated because I didn't know these numbers are not stamped on the battery. But what we got out of it was 17 minutes before everything shut down. So as you can see, big difference in performance here. If you do the math and you do 17 minutes, convert that to hours, divide that by the load, what you end up here with, there you go, is you only get about 200 watt hours. That is a quarter the performance of the Dakota Lithium. Or in other words, the Dakota Lithium has 4 times the capacity as my stock Lexus battery. And that works out to about a 16 amp hour. So that's pretty cool. Huge upgrade for trying to not have my battery die running accessories like my dash cam and running my Airby compressor and whatever else I have running on the truck when the engine's off. So that's pretty great. I did try to figure out what the rated capacity is for my Lexus battery. The problem is they rate these things in what's called reserve capacity. So that battery's supposed to have an hour of reserve capacity, and they say reserve capacity is how long you can draw 25 amps. So I just did 25 times 12 volts. That gives me the watts. That's drawing 300 watts for an hour. So it should be 300 watt hours. I only got 200 watt hours out of it before it dropped to 10 volts. And I think that's to do with the chemistry differences between lead acid and the lithium. Realistically, you could have kept drawing on that lead acid battery probably a little longer and not cut off at 10 volts. But I wanted to keep the test the same, so I didn't mess with my low voltage cutoff. So I think that's the discrepancy here. But in any case, I've got a tremendous amount more power under the hood now. So that's going to make it really, really nice for overlanding and camping and stuff like that. Huge improvement.